Well, I guess my Orange Man Bad video upset a few people, which was to be expected. So let's see what they had to say and if they made any sense.
No?
Now, if anybody still pushes the left and the right paradigm, not realizing that they're just two wings of the same ego that control the same head, I mean, you know, isn't it time you woke up? Isn't it? There were some comments I wanted to address that were not enlightening, not to me anyway, but they didn't make any sense. You guys were basically upset that you were agreeing with me. See, Siren Janine says that Trump kicked out Epstein from his Mar-a-Lago resort for hitting on disrespecting the waitress. Well, that's what was... Janine, you have no idea why he did that, first and foremost. Maybe that was reported somewhere, but somewhere else, something else was reported. So, why are you cherry picking? That was my whole point, right? People are cherry picking. They cherry pick what they think is good and they ignore what's obviously bad. Like, Trump will, it looks like, will start funding the WHO again. Sounds like he appointed a Bill Gates connected big pharma shill to help out with the vaccine effort. He is doing Bill Gates' bidding, right? The Bill Gates, in case you didn't know that, guys, is a vaccine czar, yeah? Trump is mobilizing the greatest vaccine force with the greatest number of vaccines in the history of the world. Birds of a feather. Wake up. Anyway, Benjamin Balls is upset, I guess, and he says that Epstein had 172 famous and powerful friends. What's your point? Well, that's not my point. I never said that. That is your point, right? You didn't come here to consider my points, but you made yours, so congratulations, because that was always what you wanted. Just because Trump was friends with Epstein doesn't mean anything. Now, I always find it very telling and dishonest, to be honest, how people will take one little strand from the web that you spun, web of corruption, deception, suspicion, whatever the hell. They'll take one little strand of the conspiracy, perhaps, and pull it out, and they think the whole web is just going to collapse. That's not how that works, okay? I didn't say just because Trump was friends with Epstein that I'm suspicious. I gave you a whole bunch of other examples of something which you don't dare touch, because ultimately, deep in your heart, you agree with me. Just because Trump was friends with Epstein doesn't mean anything. Well, does birds of a feather mean anything to you? I don't know about you, but I got a ton of pedophile friends. Don't you? Isn't that the cool thing to do these days? I have tons of pedophile friends. It's not like, pedophiles are creepy when they come around you and your family, perhaps your kids or your friends' kids. It's not like they give themselves away, right? It's not like there's anything weird about them right off the bat. He was such a nice man. Like Joe Biden? Just because Trump was friends with Epstein doesn't mean anything. No, it means a lot. It means he was friends with the pedophile. That's what that means. What do you mean it doesn't mean anything? Of course it means something. And even, if that was a judgment call, a mistake that he made, poor judgment call in becoming friends with this guy. Okay, well, I mean, he did say that Epstein was tons of fun and had a predilection for very young women. Didn't Trump say that? Patting him on the back? He said some other things about the guy. But, I don't want to go too deep into that. It's not like it's just that one thing. There's a whole bunch of different things when it comes to Trump that make him seem like a sexual deviant, right? There's no proof available to the public to prove anything, right? Like, this person doesn't know how the justice system works, right? There's hardly ever proof of anything, and yet tons of people get convicted, because to convict somebody of anything, you just need, and I'm talking about the legal system where you put someone in prison or whatever. You find them to convict someone. All you need is just evidence and enough of it to convince the jury. That's all you need, right? And in a court of public opinion, you need a lot less than that. And insofar as the evidence in the court of public opinion, the only reason why Trump hasn't been convicted by everybody is because some people are psychopaths, because some people are blind, because some people need a daddy. Okay, you're not 100% my assumptions. What assumptions? Come on, man. You don't even know what you're talking about. I'd say whatever Trump did is working. Palma thinks that Trump is doing this to make us mad, which will make us act, and we will... I don't know what she thinks, but I disagree. Black Sales says he is the lesser bad. Okay, so he's bad. Great. You agree with me. Let's see what else you have to say. Let's be honest. If he wants to get elected again, he must appear pro-vax because most people are so. What do you mean appear pro-vax? You're in denial, homie. Getting the greatest vaccine effort in the history of humankind off the ground is not appearing pro-vax, it's being pro-vax. Now, I don't want to get into the details of everything that I've been talking about for months now, like the fact that they've never isolated any kind of a virus, and if you can't, and nor did they ever prove that it spreads or that it causes any kind of disease. If none of that ever happened, you cannot develop any kind of a vaccine for anything, okay? You just can't. It's physically impossible because you're stacking BS on top of BS. That's A. B, anytime there's been a coronavirus vaccine developed, it ended up hurting the animals that were involved in the trial. And there has never been a coronavirus vaccine developed for people, a successful one. Never. Vaccine process takes normally years, a decade or longer, in order to be able to develop something that may or may not work. Okay, they're gonna, without any scientific basis, they're gonna rush through the process and vaccinate hundreds of millions of people. Billions. That they want to vaccinate everybody. Okay? How is Trump the lesser bad? Lesser than who? Bill Gates, whose bidding he's doing? Lesser bad than who? Well, at least we agree he's bad. Let's be honest. Okay, so if he wants to get elected again, he must vaccinate billions of people, hundreds of millions of people. That's what this person is saying, right? That's what they're saying. So what they're saying is that there's nothing morally wrong with Donald Trump leveraging the health of hundreds of millions just so that he doesn't potentially, something that isn't guaranteed in the first place, jeopardize his political career. Because if he doesn't get reelected, all his kids will starve and he's going to be out on the street. Poor guy. Right? Your moral compass is rotten, homie. Okay? Let's be honest. You have no moral compass. You think it's okay for a guy to risk hundreds of millions of lives, the well-being of hundreds of millions of people, to advance politically, which isn't guaranteed in the first place anyway, right? My whole point was that he's not a good guy, and you agree he isn't, and then you want to be honest? Honest about what? That you support a psychopath, perhaps because that's exactly who you are? What other conclusion am I supposed to draw from this? Oh, but the news hate him, so that means something to me. Okay. Maybe he's... all these maybes, all these like, oh, I have hope. Maybe he's this, maybe he's that. So right after you say he's bad, he's saying maybe if Trump is with the bad guys. You're experiencing cognitive dissonance, okay? You can't say he is bad and then be like, oh, maybe he isn't bad. Maybe he's bad. Maybe that's cognitive dissonance, homie. And then all this like, maybe this, maybe that, maybe, you have hope, right? Because you're hoping your daddy will come and save you when he wants to stab you, basically. Lambs says something similar. Roughly 99% of Americans believe this situation is real. What do you expect happens when Trump would say we're opening up everything back as we were? I never said that he should open up the country back as we were. I've always stated he should have never closed down in the first place. What do I expect would happen? The same thing that happened in Japan, the same thing that happened in Sweden, the same thing that happened in Belarus. Nothing would happen. People would see that nothing is happening, and everything would just go back to normal. Duh. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? People would be freaking out. So? So? So, what are you saying? You're saying you have a democracy in the United States? Run by scared people who freak out and make law? What are you, or that you should? What are you saying? What are you really saying? Because I don't get it. Is it about what's right, what's morally correct, what's scientific, what's based in science? Is that what we should be doing? Or we should be doing that which a bunch of freaked out people tell us to do? My video was about being morally correct or having a screwed up moral compass like Donald Trump. Right? And this is Donald Trump's screwed up moral compass. Like, I didn't even want to be doing this because this isn't going to work on the people who are in love with the guy, who are hypnotized, right? But somebody else said that I misrepresented him, trying to present him as some kind of pedophile. I never said he's a pedophile. I don't know if he is or if he isn't. I just know he has pedophile friends. And there's a lot of weird stuff going around. Accusations. Now, look, I understand there have been women in the past who made stuff up because somebody told them to destroy somebody politically, right? It didn't work. In the case of Trump, it just made him stronger. Now, I have to wonder, is that because people are for this sort of stuff or simply because they didn't believe any of these allegations? Now, a lot of people probably didn't believe these allegations, and a lot of those allegations were probably untrue. But the reason why his opponents thought, if that's indeed what did happen, thought that these allegations might stick is because there's a lot of shady things going on that went on in Trump's past. And maybe the reason why a lot of people, the allegation didn't stick is not because they care about people not being sexual deviants and being morally correct, but they care about the left or the right. Maybe they're psychopaths and maybe they think women should be getting sexually abused. Because to just act like there's nothing weird when it comes to Trump and all that stuff, well, you're just in denial and probably a psychopath, some of you. So his ex-wife, just for example, said in the court of law that he raped her, but then came back saying, I said it in a poetic sense. He violated our secret bond of marriage or something like that. Later, she qualified her statements after she said he raped her, and the judge granted her a divorce against, one of the richest men in the world, where she got a ton of money. A judge granted her a divorce on the grounds that he treated her inhumanely and cruelly. Right? That's what a judge did. But no, there's nothing to see here. People are like imagining, they know why Trump did this, why he did that, right? He's playing eighth dimensional chess and only they are smart enough to be able to see, right? Trump is able to fool all his political opponents, all these people who are in these positions of power, but fucking Joe and Jane over there, Jack and Jill drinking their beer on the couch, not doing anything, right? Just watching TV all day. Oh, well, they could see through the deception, or they understand Trump's eighth chess, right? Or eighth dimensional chess, when they themselves don't even know how to play checkers in real life, right? This is the sort of thing I'm supposed to believe. Okay. Trump, the great savior of kids locked up in, pizza restaurant basements and New York undergrounds. He will, any moment now, guys, any moment now, he will release all these poor children that are getting raped, right? So you're telling me your dear president knows that there are hundreds, thousands perhaps, of children currently being molested in these undergrounds all over U.S. perhaps? He knows about this, and he's just letting it happen. But any moment now, yeah? And like, what are you saying, really? You're saying that the most powerful guy, at least on the surface, in the United States is surrounded by pedophiles, right? But he's not one of them because birds of a feather? Speaking of birds, what are those two parrots doing in the foreground of the photo? What are they doing? Are they copulating, perhaps? Huh? Now, imagine you didn't know who this person was, and he was 30 years younger, and you looked at this photo. What would you say? You would have said, "Ah, what a cute couple," right? No, there's nothing creepy about this photo. Not at all. I mean, everybody in America, apparently, takes these sort of photos with, all their family members, much younger family members of the opposite sex, with statues of animals fucking in the foreground, right? Everybody. Everybody, because, everybody in America seems to be a fucking psychopath. Why? Because birds of a feather.